Join me, Melanie Hoole, for digital and social media marketing insights. This episode is brought to you by Hoole.co, my agency. We provide programs for all budgets and all skill sets. Visit us at Hoole.co. Thanks, John, for making the time to chat to me today.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
I'm really interested in your thoughts on digital marketing for our show. And so today we're going to specifically talk about marketing from both an agent and a marketing person's perspective, and also delve into what your thoughts on digital media and social media and the like.
Very good. Looking forward to it.
What's your favourite social media platform and why?
Look, a few. I personally don't use social media for my persona, but from the business perspective, I'm a huge fan. And from an educational, as a learner, I'm a huge fan. So I get a lot of information off Twitter. I follow a lot of who I think are great entrepreneurs and business people and just people in general. So I get a lot of information there. YouTube was probably my go-to platform. So every day I would be early in the morning when I go to the gym on the treadmill, I will walk for 40 minutes and I'll watch YouTube for 40 minutes, generally speaking. And once, obviously YouTube, the algorithms pick up the information and the style of content that you like. So it starts serving you up, and I listen to interviews, 20, 30 minute interviews, maybe not dissimilar to this, and I pick up information and insights there. So I'd say high level, Twitter I get a lot of information from. I think daily fix, YouTube is a big one for me.
And how has media in general changed from your viewpoint over the couple of decades that you've been in the industry?
I think it's changed more in the last few years than probably the previous 15 from my perspective. And we were just talking a bit off camera that a few years ago it was suggested that things like radio and free-to-air television may not have a future, which I thought at the time it sounded extremist and if not alarmist. And because I thought I was watching free-to-air, at night, turn on the television and that was the thing. Now, I would say I get most of my content off YouTube, even from an entertainment perspective, or Netflix, or Apple TV, a whole range of things. And some of that's educational and some of it's pure entertainment. And now, for me, rather than just the big screen television, on the wall, I get a lot of mine off the iPhone, on the treadmill in the morning, or an iPad even in bed, or if I'm travelling. I'll just open up the iPad and I'll go on to my favourite sort of platforms and channels. So I think that's probably been more so in the last 5 years than 20. Obviously the internet's been the biggest change in the last 20, and REA and Domain and the big platforms have really changed the way real estate's bought and sold in the main. And nowadays the way that real estate agents market themselves is also changing courtesy of the digital channels. So I think it's all changing. Where does it go from here is going to be interesting because it's changed so rapidly, and I think some of the current changes, they actually weren't even available or on the radar 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure where it's going to go from here other than more of the same, more digital, faster downloads, more to mobile. Nowadays most of my content gets served up on my phone.
Yep.
Even more than my iPad, just because you've got it with you 24/7 and your phone has become everything. It's become a photo album, it's become a place to make calls, send messages, check emails, watch YouTube, everything now.
I like to call it the Swiss Army knife because and I quite often call it my camera rather than my phone because that's what I think of it for mostly.
Well, it's a supercomputer in the palm of your hand. For everyone, really, even people that aren't that avid users of technology, if they actually took stock of what they use it for, because even the basic users would use it for phone calls, messages, probably have one or two apps. YouTube, I think, would be for almost everyone.
Yeah.
Emails. So, I think it's really prevalent and it's going to become more so. I think it's equally dangerous as it is because it takes away the boundaries. You used to get in your car, go to work, do work, and then pack up your bag or even your computer, then go home. Whereas nowadays, there's kind of no borders or boundaries.
We're in this switched on economy all the time.
24/7, you have the ability to check emails and phones and take messages and whatever. So I think there's a level of discipline required also to make sure you maintain balance, and life balance and so forth. So I think it's kind of, they're both important. It's great that you're attached and connected, but it's also dangerous if you don't have some boundaries around it.
This episode is brought to you by Hoole.co, marketing programs to suit all budgets and skill sets. Visit us at Hoole.co. How do you power down? And you know, what advice could you give to the industry on being able to switch off at the end of the day and not being on that, you know, on 24/7?
I have, my phone is much of the time on divert. So I have a number of favourites, which are generally the main business contacts that I have, and a couple of personal contacts that I don't know how I did it, but somehow I did it so they can ring through to me, because I think you can do something where you have a divert your phone calls except people on your favourites. So I've done that. So that means that there's like 12 or 15 people that can virtually get me anytime.
Yep.
And everyone else has got to leave a message because, you know, again, you become almost too accessible. Now, if you're a sales agent and you're wanting to speak to a potential buyer or a seller, accessibility is probably really important to you. If you're a principal or a sales leader of a business, sometimes you actually need the space to have meetings and to deal with other issues. So I think you've got to work out what is the right balance for you. I know Bill Maloof, who's one of the most successful agents in Australia, and he spoke at ARIC a few years ago, and one of his key messages was accessibility. He said, I go to a client and I say, right, why don't you ring me anytime, night or day, weekend, Sunday morning, 8 o'clock at night, whatever, and then ring the other agents you're talking to and see who actually you can get through to. And he said, most of the time that gets me a listing, because I ring the other 4 or 5 agents, they don't get back to them for a few hours, maybe a day or two, and yet Bill was almost always answering his phone. So, yeah, it's got to depend which category you're in. Is it important for you to be accessible most of the time? It also depends where you're in, Mel, I think, in your life cycle. If you're potentially, but not exclusively, but single, youngish, no commitments, no family, and you want to be 24/7 connected, well, maybe that's okay. I mean, you've got to get sleep and you should be doing some exercise and hopefully some socialisation as well.
Yeah.
But it's very different if you're there with a partner and a family and other things, other responsibilities. You actually need to be a little bit. So it's hard to turn your phone off nowadays because everything's connected. So I think, you know, as I've done with divert and except for favourites, I think you've got to try and find a way that balances up, that gives people appropriate access to you, but doesn't distract you from the other key important things.
And that's the beauty of, you know, online media, where I always say you can bottle yourself like a genie and be available 24/7 so that because I find that I'm repeating myself, and I'm sure you would too, you know, with all the interviews that you do, that you end up saying the same thing over and over. So if you can bottle that in a video and then have that available 24/7, and then it's kind of like nurturing people to get closer to where you need them, not just where they need you. Because I find that I'm a bit of an information service if I allow myself to be, and I feel like I'm the help desk on anything social digital.
And I think, Mel, there's something pleasant about the real-time, real-person exchange from time to time, for sure. And we do both here. So from our training perspective at the moment, because we've now got offices up and down the east coast of Australia, we've got about 100 offices in 1, 2, 3, 4 states. And so for us, we still hold monthly sessions in real time in classrooms with new people that have joined, but we also have online content. So if someone can't make the course or in additional content, it's available. So I think as a company scales, or even as a sales agent, I mean, if you're a sales agent, and some of our top agents at the moment, they're selling 15 to 20 properties every month. I mean, they're really, and not just for us, around the country, there's some other great agents too.
And do they have a team around them to be able to achieve that?
They do, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but the point I was making there is, imagine if you've got 15 vendors a month, because some people have got 1 or 2, which is fine, but if you've got 15 or 20, to have the same conversation about here's what to expect, here's how to present your home, here's how we're going to deal with offers, other things. So capturing it once on video, and I think video is a really underutilised tool in the Australian real estate market, both B2C, business to consumer, but also within a business. So if you send out a 3-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute video to a new starter, here's our values, here's what we stand for, here's what we recommend, to a vendor, even to a buyer getting ready for an auction. If you're a successful agent, you've got 20 auctions a month, or even 6 or 7 auctions a month, maybe you do a little 2-minute video to a buyer saying auction's coming up this weekend, here's how we recommend, here's what's going to happen, here's the advantage of being the highest bidder, here's how to register or pre-register. So yeah, I think it's critical. Back to your question, leveraging. I think the best agents going forward are going to be selling a property a day in the very near future. Some of our agents are very close to that. Our highest is 24 in 1 month, and if you take out kind of the 1 day a week most people don't work, that's pretty much a property a day. And we've got a number of people now reaching that level. So you can't do everything. You can't be everywhere.
Nope.
You can't fulfil every role. And the metaphor we often use, Mel, here is when you go in and you have a serious medical operation with a world-class surgeon, you don't expect them to be getting the tools cleaned and whatever and anaesthetising or whatever. They come in for their job and they have specialists around them. So our top teams are now developing, not huge teams. So I'm talking about, so Stefan Bertrand, one of our top guys, he does 15, 16, 17 sales a month. He's got himself, he's got an administrative assistant that handles all the marketing and paperwork, and he's got 2 buyer specialists. One buyer specialist and one buyer specialist that also does listings as well. So he's developed a team of 4. And I know Tommy Hector in South Australia also has a similar team structure, and he's doing 150 to 200 sales also a year. So I think you have to be able to work out as an agent, what is your best value add role?
Yep.
Yes, if you can look over all the marketing, that's helpful, but if you have someone just as good as you to do it, you're probably better in front of potential vendors and potential buyers. Mm-hmm. So I think you've got to kind of do that. A lot of agents or a lot of human beings have trouble delegating.
Yes.
And sometimes it's for good reason, because they're very good at what they do and they have a good eye for detail and marketing or whatever it might be. And they say, yeah, but I think I can do it better than them. The reality is you probably can, but if you're trying to do that, you can't do that. And if you want to build a business, you need to be talking to the sellers and the best buyers, mm-hmm. and you need a process that kind of allows you to focus on that rather than sharpening the utensils.
Yeah. And I spoke at your Momentum event, mm-hmm. so kindly got flown around the country. Mm-hmm. And that was for people in your business that have, they've just reached that 500 GCI level, and it's where they need to, jump up from being a lone agent or maybe with an offshore assistant to a team. So as you've been talking, I've been thinking about, process is really important, and being really clear on who does what part of the process across your team, but also like automation. And we can really use technology, both the devices that we have in our palm of our hand and systems and automation and bots and technologies that are coming into the fray now. Well, thank you for your time today. Really
Pleasure.
Appreciate answering all my questions.
Good
and I'll
to
chat
see
to you again soon.
Thanks, Mel. Thank you.
Thank you. You've been watching The Digital Marketing Show with me, Melanie Hoole. This episode was brought to you by Hoole.co, my agency. We provide marketing programs to suit all budgets and skill sets. Visit us at Hoole.co.